In life, it's important to enjoy the small pleasures it has to offer. And today, we are here to talk about one of them, wine. France has top wines with plenty of aromas, and the Sauternes aren't an exception. These wines are produced in Bordeaux, and they have had the AOC appellation since 1936. Sauternes is located about 25 miles southeast from the city center of Bordeaux at the southern end of Grape. Today we have with us two Sauternes winemakers that came all the way here to Switzerland, all the way from France here to Switzerland to Lavaux to tell us more about these wines and what makes them so special. Good morning, Mr. Beaumont and Mrs. Leblanc. I hope you are well today. Thank you very much for being here in Switzerland at the Lavaux with us.
Good morning, so thank you very much for having us today.
It is my pleasure. So please tell us more about the Sauternes.
Well, as you said before, it is located 25 miles southeast from the city center of Bordeaux. It is a really big area that covers approximately 1,599 hectares. Right now, we are currently producing more or less 480,000 cases of wine each year, and each case contains 12 bottles.
And what about the history of these wines? What can you tell us?
Actually, it's a really interesting story because many years ago, the old owner returned to the vineyard Soleil, obviously the old owner of the Sauternes lands, and he went back home past the harvesting and found only extremely ripe grapes that were like infected by a fungus that is the noble rot. So he tried to make wine out of them and was very surprised when he discovered in fact this rot, and the rot gave special aromas and a special sweetiness to the wine, and that's the legend that says that we discovered the sweet wines of the Sauternes like this, actually.
Oh, interesting. Please tell us more about the noble rot.
Of course. Well, first it is important to mention we are in the presence of a maritime climate, which often means autumn frost and hard rains, both bad for the vines. We are lucky to have a specific microclimate with limescale and argile soil created by the location of Sauternes. We are here talking about terroir, and what's special about the Sauternes is that it is situated close to the Garonne and Sauternes rivers. Those bodies of water with their different temperatures aids in the development of the noble rot.
Okay, so is it a natural process that gives the taste to your wines?
Well, mostly yes, but we are also using a specific method for stopping the fermentation while using sulfites. That is called the allumette hollandaise in French. That makes fermentation stop, which permits us to have the right level of sugar. It's a tradition that we make in Sauternes, so we've perpetuated it since the creation of it.
Okay, that's really interesting. And since we were talking about the terroir before, could you tell us more about the soils?
Yes, of course. I must tell you it's extremely varied with different degrees of chalk, limestone, sand, clay, and gravel in the soils, which rest over an alluvial bed. The elevation of the vineyards goes from 3 meters up to 80 meters, and the highest peak in Sauternes is located on top of the hill at Château d'Yquem at 80 meters.
Actually, the Château d'Yquem is the most famous wine we produce, and it's a Premier Cru.
And let's talk about aromas and food pairing, because many people think that since we are talking about sweet wines, they are meant to be drunk at the end of the meal, like as a dessert. And that's not quite the case, right?
Well, exactly. In these wines, we can find many flavors such as apricots, honey, peaches, nutty notes, etc. And we could think that because of this, these wines are dessert wines only that are meant to drink only with desserts. But it could work in this case if we talk about fruit-based desserts. But the Sauternes are better when paired with fruit as foie gras, that is the classic match, and it works perfectly well with salty cheese.
When they age, they also carry flavors such as brioche, caramel, butterscotch, and even chocolate, as well as they can develop more of a candied orange character. Also, for the customers to really appreciate this wine, it should be served at 9 degrees.
Speaking of aging, for how long can a bottle of Sauternes be aged on average?
It really depends on the vintage, but it can be kept from 4 up to 40 years.
Well, thank you very much for the interview.
Thank you very much for being here today with us. It was a pleasure meeting these two winemakers, and I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. And remember, always drink responsibly.